Welcome to Guiding Gettysburg. Today I am behind the Gettysburg Railroad Station. It's located on Carlisle Street. And the story I would like to tell you occurred right across the street at the Washington Hotel back in 1863. Today that is the site of the famous Lincoln Diner in Gettysburg. So some of you will know exactly where that's located. My story today is about a young girl, a 7-year-old girl named Emma Yunt. Her family, her mother and father, were the proprietors of the Washington Hotel. Her father's name was Israel and the mother's name was Mary. And during the time of the battle, they were in charge of the hotel, which would soon become a hospital for the soldiers. Emma was born Emma Orlina Yunt on April 25th of 1856. So that made her 7 years old during the battle. Emma has some wonderful stories to tell us, and I'd like to bring those to you today. It seems that on the evening of the battle, Buford's cavalry soldiers were stationed at the Washington Hotel and here at the train station. The battle hadn't started yet. This was the eve of the battle. A soldier was sitting on the steps of the Washington Hotel when he spied Emma. He smiled at her, and I guess they struck up a conversation. Now Emma was growing up as a prim and proper lady, so she knew not to get too close to this soldier, but to be polite and be ladylike. The soldier told her how much Emma reminded him of his own daughter, who was back home. And he had wondered if he would ever see his own daughter again. I guess Emma resembled the young girl, and it made him very lonely. He asked Emma if he could have a kiss on the cheek from her and a hug. Now this is something that just was not done back then. But Emma said, "I'll have to ask my mother." So she went in and asked Mary if it was okay. And I guess Mary came out and supervised the kiss on the cheek and the hug. Now, today is a different time than it was back then, and today right away would be fearful and thinking that the man was some kind of child molester or something, but that wasn't the case back then. I mean, these men were going into battle. They didn't know if they would ever see tomorrow, let alone their own children and family, so it was a different circumstance. He ended up giving Emma 2 gifts for her kind favor to him. And one of them was a scarf with a portrait of George Washington on it in red, white, and blue stripes. It was made out of silk, and it was about 25 inches by 27 inches. Now, they called it a handkerchief back then, but it was awful big for a handkerchief. And so I sort of think it was a neck scarf or maybe even a head scarf for women. It was made out of silk, and it eventually came to rest at the Adams County Historical Society. Emma knew that the scarf was very valuable to this soldier, and she accepted it kindly, and she wanted to preserve it because it was already showing signs of wear, so she had a glass case built where they could display it in the parlor of the hotel. The second gift that the soldier gave to Emma was a CDV of President Lincoln. Now, a CVD is a carte de visite, and that's a French term for a calling card. And these cards usually had the portrait of the person on and probably their name, and also which photography studio did the work. And they were very popular back then. When you went to someone's home, maybe for the first time, you gave them your CVD. They had a silver tray and you put your CVD on the tray. Or when you met someone in business, you gave them your CDV, I'm sorry. But It was like the business card of today. So they are very valuable. Even back then, to have one of President Lincoln was something outstanding. Emma just really loved these gifts, and she kept that also in a display case. When she was in her 80s, Emma wrote a letter to her son Raymond, and she told him the story about the handkerchief or scarf and the CDV, and she wanted him to pass on the story to her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She knew that these stories were priceless, and they really are priceless, especially to people like me who hears about them in this day and age. And it's wonderful that we have such recordings from these citizens of Gettysburg. Emma lived to a ripe old age of 90 years, and her great-grandson donated these items to the Adams County Historical Society, where they have been on display. And the Historical Society had reproductions of the scarf made, and people could purchase them. And I was lucky enough to have a friend of mine purchase one for me, and I treasure it. I really do. I think about Emma's life and her living almost a whole century, and what a time it was for her to be alive. I don't think there was ever another time when so many things occurred. She went through the Civil War, the First World War, and even into the Second World War. The turn of the century, automobiles, planes, what her eyes must have seen. I was thinking back on my life and comparing it to someone who lived during Emma's time period. There's no comparison. Everything was brand new and magical in that era, I think. So that would have been a time to be alive. I hope you enjoyed this story today. I enjoyed bringing it to you. Sorry about the noise. We're right in town and it's a little noisy, but the story's a good one anyway. You take care, and please click like and subscribe and tell your friends about us. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.